The Chicago Bulls took a horrible loss versus the best team in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder, last night. And that loss just made the chances of the Chicago Bulls having any thought of moving up in the standings, in the play-in standings, a lot worse. A bad turn for the Chicago Bulls, but they do have a chance to go ahead and kind of make up for it tonight in the matchup versus the Toronto Raptors. Y'all know we gonna talk about it and break it all down right after this.
Cognac gang.
Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. My goodness, last night was one that we turned off early as a collective around Bulls Nation, man. But if y'all tuned in, y'all know we tried to make it fun. We tried to have some good dialogue, but it was just a stinker all around to where the Chicago Bulls we just virtually could not watch any longer, especially when you got games to where Kobe White only took 5 shots from the field, ended the game with 7 points. Josh Giddey ended with 15. Nikola Vucevic ended with 11. Montes Buzelis with 14. And Dalen Terry in that starting lineup with 4 points. Nah, not necessarily good enough to even give yourself a chance to play in this game. The Chicago Bulls last night, they just had bad shooting. They had bad everything. Bad shooting, bad chances at the basket. They failed to take advantage of the matchups. And when you look at everything as a team for the Chicago Bulls, you look at the three-point shooting. You say, okay, 31% for a team, it's a bit mid. But those 3-point shots came later in the game, y'all. If you sat there and watched the first 3 quarters with us, you knew that the Chicago Bulls, for majority of that game, just didn't have it. And especially when you allow the Oklahoma City Thunder to go out there and shoot 53% from the three, yeah, you ain't winning too many games like that, or even having a chance to win any games like that versus a team like that. And it's just crazy when you watch that team. You just see so much talent around the team. And before the game even tipped off, I dropped the episode a couple hours earlier and was just pretty much like, hey, Josh Giddey revenge game is going to be a tough one simply because you're going up against the number one defense in the entire NBA, and they had that on full display. Able to throw many guys at Josh Giddey, able to neutralize Kobe White, not allow anything to go on inside the paint. And the Bulls, when it was time to hit those 3-pointers, they couldn't hit them because the team, the way that I look at the Chicago Bulls, they are a team that gets themselves going by first getting themselves comfortable by seeing baskets go in inside the paint and things like that. But when they clog the lane and make it difficult, and then Josh Giddey is making bad passes, Nikola Vucevic is making bad passes, and all the other Chicago Bulls players are making bad passes, you don't really give yourself an opportunity to compete with the number one team in the league on the defensive side of the ball, a top 5 team in steals, a top 5 team in blocks. You don't give yourself a chance. In the Chicago Bulls, they didn't take care of the basketball. 20 turnovers on the night. Yeah, you don't give yourself a good fighting chance versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's just crazy. What's even more crazy is that I found out that the Oklahoma City Thunder, they've only lost 1 game versus the Eastern Conference all year long. All year long. So for my betting people, my people that go out there and do FanDuel, Prize Picks, or whatever, hey, that was one of yours where you could just go ahead and grab some easy money because that team, they don't lose to teams in the East. And I know that the Chicago Bulls can try, or they could have tried a lot harder, but it was still going to be an uphill battle to go against a team like that. And I say before we really start talking about why the Chicago Bulls' chances of moving up in the standings took a turn for the worse, it's just that Oklahoma, they showed us that the Chicago Bulls got a lot more work to do. I know there's going to be some of us that bring up the injuries and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure they had their fair share of injuries as well. The difference is that they have guys like SGA, they have guys like Jalen Williams, they had guys who go out there and who's virtually now what we have to call a Chicago Bulls killer, Isaiah Joe. Every time we play against Isaiah Joe since the first few years when he first entered the league, he introduced himself to who the hell he was when he played Chicago. And I remember the very first time vividly watching him play versus the Chicago Bulls. I'm like, Isaiah who? Isaiah Joe? Who the hell is Buddy? He's an NBA player, bro. And all those guys that come in off the bench for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they just do an outstanding job of executing the plan, sticking good defense. And if you leave them wide open like the Chicago Bulls last night, they're going to make you pay. And it's going to be a hefty price. And you seen the Chicago Bulls, they had a lack of communication on the defensive side, not rotating well. It seemed like they had a lot of emphasis on kind of slowing down SGA when I think that you got to let SGA cook, and he was going to cook regardless. And then when you go out there and you try to blitz them and trap them and you're not quick with your on your feet, we're rotating and those young guys get those shots up, you pay a hefty price. Hence why the score says what it says, 145 to 117. Yeah, you ain't winning many games just constantly not being sound on the defensive side of the ball. And that just leads me to believe that if the Chicago Bulls believe that Kobe White and Josh Giddey are the backcourt of the future, this upcoming draft, you have to look at a big or a wing. My preference is a big because I felt like there were many times or many possessions to where the Chicago Bulls had a Nikola Vucevic on a Chet Holmgren who's much bigger than him in size and height, and you just simply couldn't take advantage of that matchup. I think you need some more physicality coming in from the bigs. I don't. It could have been maybe something that was on the guys themselves because I believe Zach Collins plays physical at times, and he could have been a lot better when he was matched up versus a Chet Holmgren. But you still need a guy that's out there that's going to be able to bang and be physical with guys like Isaiah Hartenstein, and he had that float game going. I'm like, damn, you ain't even that close to the basketball rim, but you still out here able and capable of just floating that thing in, and it's just butter. It's just butter. That is a hell of a team over there. And quite frank with you, it was an uphill battle either way it go. But this is why I simply harp on, and I was telling people, yes, it's good to be excited about this young team, but we still have to take these steps and take it one game at a time, simply because moments like this, we're coming up from where we were still high as ever off that Los Angeles Lakers victory. But at the end of the day, you still have more games to go. That wasn't our finals. That wasn't the game that puts us in the eighth seed of the Eastern Conference standing. It was still some work to be done, and they dropped a close matchup versus the Dallas Mavs, who just lost to the Brooklyn Nets. By the way, I'm just ticked off about that because the Bulls could have just had themselves. They could have been in decent position. Maybe took this loss last night versus the Oklahoma City Thunder and still been all right. But that loss, those two back-to-back losses, now you have allowed the Miami Heat to breathe life back into themselves to see if they can make it difficult for the Chicago Bulls that having any chances of even sniffing a playoff series. Now, it's different when you play against Western Conference teams versus Eastern Conference teams, especially when you play teams that are at the top of the West. But it's still gonna be a tall task for the Chicago Bulls. Those two losses hurt the team tremendously. They're now back at the 10th seed, and the Miami Heat right now are rolling. You can say whatever you want about the schedule or who they beat and all those things like that, but they are now winners of 5 straight. They are now winners of 5 straight. Now they do have a tough stretch coming up between Boston, Memphis, and Milwaukee. However, the Chicago Bulls don't have that. We don't have that for sure thing to see if this team is going to come up and just outplay teams or if they're going to play down the competition, because we've seen the Chicago Bulls do this all season long, regardless of who was on the squad. You see them play teams tough and then just let go of the rope. You've seen them play lesser teams and then just not come out focused. You've seen them play teams that are ahead of them and play pretty damn well and even hit a game win on some of those games. But at the same time, now you look at these next 3 games for the Chicago Bulls, and most of us be like, hey, these are very, very winnable games. But this is the NBA, and nothing is for sure with this team as it currently stands. And right now, teams are really, really honing in and locking in on the Chicago Bulls backcourt. You seen last night, Kobe White only 5 attempts, bro. 5 attempts. 5 shot attempts from the field, bro. That is not good enough for a guy who we have high expectations for. Now, in the Chicago Bulls, their next 3 games are going to come against teams like the Toronto Raptors, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Charlotte Hornets. But those are not gimmies, bro. Those are not gimmies for this team. These guys have to come out there and actually want it. They have to go out there and actually take it. And you got to come out with your hair on fire, because now you've placed yourself back to where you were a few weeks ago in the 10th seed. You know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of discussions about the Chicago Bulls moving up to that 8th seed. You know what I'm saying? Even I entertained it a little bit, but I always had a caveat to it. Take it one game at a time. Because if you start to get ahead of yourself, you start to get ahead of your skis, you might be seeing yourself fall right back down. And the Chicago Bulls right now have fell right back down. So we got to take it for what it really is. We got to understand that this young team, yes, they are exciting to watch. But when guys are injured and there's injuries out there and the team is depleted by injuries, and you don't have certain guys being able to come out there and fill the void like we've once seen them do in previous games, and then come play lackadaisical defense, and you see bad body language just after 1 quarter with this team, it's not good. It's not good. But I'm going to still sit right here. I'm going to still rock out for the last 7 games of the season just to see how well this team responds to these 2 tough losses that they've taken. And we'll see what they do with that. But it's not on us. We're going to root them on. We understand that the Chicago Bulls are really, really pushing to make the playoffs. Regardless if somebody say, hey, the tank is on. The tank is off. The tank is off. That shit is over with. The Chicago Bulls are who they are. They are a young team that can be exciting at times, that can be frustrating at times, that can go out there and play some really good basketball, and then on some nights play some really crappy basketball like we've seen in the last 2 games. You have to remain focused. And I'm going to look at the head coach, obviously, but I'm also going to look at the players. I think both of those 2 things matter when you're talking about production, especially when it comes to wins and losses. It can't all be on Billy Donovan. It has to be on some of those players as well. I will fault Billy Donovan for last night's game, because Kobe White, what the hell are you doing, bro? Your team needs you to drop 40. I ain't going to lie to you. Yesterday, Kobe White was supposed to drop 40 to get the Chicago Bulls a chance, and he dropped 7. What is you talking about? You're 33 points too cheap. So we laugh to keep him crying. Hey, you know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a lot of people that's like, hey, look at what they did versus the Lakers. We chasing that high one more time for the rest of the season. The Chicago Bulls have 7 games left in this season, and is right now it's just it's a little weird. It's, man, those 2 losses, it made things a lot tougher for the Chicago Bulls, because you went from potentially hosting a play-in game at home to now having to battle and claw and fight potentially to get to even sniff the second round of the play-in. That is crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? But I do believe if they handle business, you just take care of yourself. You have to focus on yourself, 1 game at a time. Maybe they was just ready to rush out of there, because now your ass going against the Toronto Raptors, another team that's right below the Chicago Bulls in the 11th seed. Not really necessarily a good team, but y'all think they're going to come down and lay down for the sake of tanking for you? I don't expect that. You come out here and you play crazy games, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So you got to come out there, and Josh Giddey, man, there's 2 games in a row. It's 2 games in a row. I know it's been a full season. You know what I'm saying? It's been a season of, hey, Josh Giddey, we need you to be better. Hey, Josh Giddey has been on a tear. Hey, now we looking at these last 2 games like, hey, Josh Giddey, we need you to get right, brother. But also, it's not just on him. You need your co-star, your co-star and Kobe White to be Kobe White. Your scoring ability opens up things for this team. And I understand taking the back seat, trying to allow other guys to come into the game. But I think the next step in Kobe White's development is, hey, my team is falling behind by 14. I need to get going. We've seen those too many times to where Kobe White, he's just, you know what I'm saying, just going through the motions, you know what I'm saying, and not really responding well to what the actual game is telling them. And you got to give credit to the OKC Thunder. That is nothing to take away from them. And it's all credit to them. They forced Kobe White to get that rock up. But sometimes you got to be the aggressor. Sometimes you got to be the aggressor. Sometimes you got to have a little bit more patience to allow guys the double team or to drop off on you. But if the pass, you're getting double team and you're passing it out, and if the team doesn't fear them, and when Josh Giddey was shooting those threes, nobody feared him. You got to make some guys pay if they're going to leave you wide open, Josh Giddey. He was shooting unbalanced shots. It was looking a little weird, but hey, we wash it off because the Chicago Bulls have a game tonight versus those Toronto Raptors, like I've been pretty much leading up into. And that game is going to be interesting to see what the bounce back look like for the Chicago Bulls, because again, you do have the tiebreaker right now with the, you know what I'm saying, the Miami Heat. But next week, around this time again, it's a Bulls versus Miami Heat matchup. Tell me that is not going to be a playoff intense type of basketball game to where Billy Donovan and Eric Spoelstra is going to have to match up, to where Kobe White and Josh Giddey is going to have to match up with Tyler Hero and all those guys over there in the Miami Heat. And they are playing extremely well, at least these last 5 games, to where they are winning in good fashion. And they handling their business. So I'm interested to see how the Chicago Bulls bounce back. I'm interested to see how they continue their trajectory to try to finish out this season on a positive note. Again, my only focus is player development. It does get a little frustrated sometimes because you expect more out of your team. But if you go out there if I'm going to go out there and I'm going to focus on player development, and last night was a bad developmental step for the guys. It was not a good sign for the Chicago Bulls, and it just lets me know, hey, we got a lot of more work to do. We got a lot of more work to do. But those chances, they're getting a little bit more tougher to see the Chicago Bulls capturing AFC. It don't look like the Magic are going to hand over that AFC, or the Atlanta Hawks are going to try to relinquish that 7 seed, because they dropped down to 8 for like a couple days, and then now they're right back at 7. So you got to take care of your business. You got to handle your business. And as long as you handle your business, things will take care of themselves. But it starts with tonight, and you cannot get ahead of yourself. You're going up against the Toronto Raptors. Go handle your business, and we'll see what happens. But we'll be right here covering it all, y'all, later today. Hopefully, we'll be able to give you a full live call, full of action, full of fun, full of different conversations that was much better than what we were talking about and doing yesterday, man. What we was doing yesterday. We're going to bring some of that energy, and we're going to see if the Chicago Bulls respond with good energy and come out there and get themselves a victory, because they done took 2 losses in a row, and it is not good to constantly lose. It is not good to have a 4-game winning streak, or was it 5 games, and then lose 3 in a row. No, that is not good to end the season. We got to end this on a positive note, and let's go out there and see what happens. But that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much for tuning in and rocking with us, constantly supporting us, and constantly showing out and rocking out, even when the Bulls frustrate the hell out of us. But we here to cheer on the young guys. Let's see what happens with the squad tonight. And I hope to see all y'all there at tip-off, because we will be live. So hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, man. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all see red, and y'all already know I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
Cognac. Gang.